So, full disclaimer before I start, the video features of the 77D will be in the next video. This is just for stills. Hello everyone, and welcome back to the 77D channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be reviewing my Canon EOS 77D. And before I start, I'm just going to apologize for the lack of videos lately. I was on a family vacation and I didn't have time to upload. So sorry about that. But let's start off with the specs. So it has a 24.2 megapixel APS-C CMOS sensor. It has a 45-point all-cross type phase detect focus system. It has a Digic 7 processor, which is the newest Canon processor. It has a 3-inch vari-angled touchscreen, which means you could flip it out, rotate it, and it's really handy when doing video work or when even shooting stills. You could do 6 frames per second shooting, and it has an ISO range of 100 to 25,600 natively. However, you could expand that to 51,200. In terms of video, it can shoot 1080 at 60 frames per second. It has dual pixel AF, which is amazing. It will just lock on to anything. And it has Wi-Fi, NFC, and Bluetooth built in. Next, we'll move on to the build quality. So the camera is very well built. It's made of this tough plastic, and it has this rubberized grip on the side and where the front grip is. And that's very nice when you're shooting because it's less prone to slip out of your hand. And it's slightly weather sealed. For example, you could take it out in some light rain. However, if it's heavy rain or if it's snow, I wouldn't advise it. But the camera overall is very solid and does not feel cheap at all. Okay, so next I'll move on to the buttons, dials, and menus on the camera. So starting off on the front, you have your little buttons on the side. So this one's a flash button. So if I'm in one of the manual modes, which are P, AV, TV, and M, I could hit this little button and the flash will pop up, and I could push the flash back down to disengage it. So next, this little button down here, this is the depth of field preview button. So if I hit this, you'll hear the sound. So that's the sound of the diaphragm blades inside the lens closing just for a little bit so that you could preview how dark or how bright your image is going to be. However, that only works if you're in an aperture that's smaller than the maximum aperture of your lens. So currently I have it set to f20, and that's why you can hear the sound. But if I had it set to f3.5, then you wouldn't be able to hear it. So you also have your lens release button, and we all know what this does. Press it in, twist the lens, and it'll come off. So of course you have your shutter button right here. So if you half press this, it'll autofocus. Press it fully, takes a picture. Here you have your dial. So this can set shutter speed, ISO, aperture, so you can use it for anything basically. Up here, this is your autofocus method selection. So if I hit this, auto selection AF, which could use all the 45 points of the autofocus system. Single point, so you could choose which point you want. So you could either use the dial to go up and down and the top dial to go left or right. Or you could do what I like to do, just touch the screen. Next you have your manual zone AF. So it's in groups of 9 points, and it will only use these 9 points to focus. And you have your large zone. So there are 3 zones. So I usually use this one, but I know people take portraits, usually use single point, but I usually use this one. Next you have your ISO button. So hit this and you could select your ISO. And then finally you have your light button, so hit this and the screen will turn orange so you can see better, and hit it again to turn it off. And then of course you have your mode dial, so your modes are auto, flash off, creative auto, portrait mode, landscape mode, macro mode or close-up mode, sports, scene selection, creative filters, manual mode, aperture priority mode, shutter priority mode, and program auto. Now on the back you have your menu button, which will bring you to the menus. Now I won't go over the menus, but if you want a great video going over the menus, I suggest you watch Jared Poland's video. The link will be right here, and it will also be in the description, so go watch that if you want a video that goes in depth into the menus. So you have your info button. Oops. You have your info button. The regular screen you get is this screen. Hit info, it could go all black, and hit it again, it will use the little electronic level, but I usually shoot with this mode. And in live view, hit it. Oops. It will go all blank, show some of your basic settings, show some more advanced settings, your histogram right here, and a little electronic level, which is what I like using. So over here you have your white balance selection. So you can select all your white balances. You have your AF method, so you can do one shot, AI focus, or AI servo. You have your drive mode, so you can do high speed continuous, low speed continuous, self timer, another self timer, and interval timer. And then over here you have your picture styles. I don't use these as much, but they could be useful. Here you have your quick menu, so you could tap to change all your settings. And here you have your wireless settings button. So if you hit this, it'll go and show you the menu for your wireless settings. And of course you have your little mode dial. And you have your delete button, and you have your lock switch. So I have it set to lock the touch screen. You can have it set to lock the back dial or the top dial. And of course you have your live view / movie start stop button, your diopter, which will change your viewfinder, and you have your off, on, and movie switch buttons. You also have two little flaps over here, so if you open this one up, you have your intervalometer input and your mic input. And over here you have your USB input and HDMI out input. And over here you have your SD card slot. It'll just single SD card, but that's okay. So the battery life on this camera is actually very good. Now Canon claims it's 600 shots, but if you're shooting through primarily the viewfinder, I can assure you that it's more than 600 shots. However, if you're taking video, it won't last as long as shooting stills, but the battery life for video is still decent. Alright, so here's some sample images taken from the 77D with the EFS 18-135 ISOSM kit lens. So here are some pictures of flowers, and it's just amazing how sharp these are. For example, all these little leaves, you could see every single little detail, all the way down to the tiniest little hair on the leaves, and that's just truly stunning. Here's a picture of a Ferrari F40 that I took, and I really enjoy taking pictures of cars. And you guys can see every single little thing in the brakes and the wheels, and even in the stone on the ground. You guys could see every single little thing. Here's a picture of the mirror of the F40, and the background blur is beautiful. The mirror is completely sharp. You can see every little detail about it. And here's a picture of a McLaren 570S. And once again, the picture is super sharp. Headlights, you could see every single little thing. And the pictures out of this camera with that 24 megapixel sensor are truly stunning. Now pricing, so these are all in American dollars. However, I live in Canada, but I'm just stating the most used currency. So body only, it's $850 US. With the 18 to 55 millimeter IS STM lens, it's $1,000. And with the 18 to 135 IS USM lens, which is what I bought it with, it's $1,250. So not as expensive as the ADD, but not as affordable as the T7i. So my final thoughts on the camera are, it's anything an amateur photographer could ask for. So I was considering going for the ADD, but then it was really just the pricing that sort of set me off. Plus, I thought that the 77D actually felt better for stills than the ADD because of the newer Digic 7 processor. So I went with the 77D, and I could not be happier. It's just a phenomenal camera, perfect for amateur photographers or hobbyists. And honestly, it's met all my needs plus more. And I could not see myself replacing this camera for at least a few years. So thanks for watching, everyone. I'll definitely be back on track with the video uploading, and see you later.